This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the president and CEO of Aguila Copper, the very busy Mr. Mark Saxon. Mark, a lot going on. How are you?
Gerardo, good afternoon. Great to talk to you again.
It's great to have you on. You had some news here a few days ago, and then you had some news a week ago, and then you had some news 3 to 4 weeks ago. It's all on different projects, a lot of geo work going on, a lot of quality exploration work on the ground. Walk me through the latest bit of news, and then for people that may not be familiar with Aguila Copper, give me a brief overview of the company and kind of the approach, because I think Aguila stands to benefit from an excellent share structure, an excellent team, and you're putting together quite an impressive portfolio of projects for a company that has a tiny market cap. We've seen similar success with a friend of ours and a director on Aguila Copper, Blair Way with Patriot Battery Metals, where the company kind of languished between 16 cents and 30 cents, and they had a great portfolio of projects. They had a solid share structure after a consolidation, and all of a sudden they hit with the drill bit. Now it's off to the races from 16 cents, where I wrote an initial check, to a high of 150 just yesterday, right?
Yeah, big question there, and I'll touch on all those pieces as we talk, Gerardo, and I guess let's talk a little about Aguila and how we got here and some of the history and what we're doing in the future. I think is a good way to break that down. So Aguila was an old company. I took it over as CEO, let's say 18 months ago, sort of mid-COVID. It all gets a bit blurry now, the COVID story. But so when I came in as CEO, we were looking for, I guess, to do something a little bit different and to take a big vision on discovery. And so we started off on a gold project in Oregon, and really large land holding, really interesting project, and lots of alteration. It turned out not to be the one, but the land holding was great, and it really taught us about the things that are important in operating inside the US. And so we changed the name of the company, as you saw. So we went from gold into copper, and we really sort of beefed up our strategy in project generation and looking at new ideas in copper. And I suppose we started that process by looking at other people's projects, looking at the projects that were available in compared to portfolios. And I must say, it was a little bit disappointing. Those number sort of 3, 4, 5 projects that are in someone's back pocket didn't look right to us. They were almost all in outcrop. They'd had lots of work on them. A few drill holes were interesting, but kind of the momentum had run out on that project. And so we sort of stepped away from that, and we said, all right, let's go and do our own work and have a look under shallow cover near some of those really interesting projects. And that's the approach we've applied to put together a really good portfolio in the US. And that's I think that's the focus for us on this conversation. And at the end, we can touch on what we're doing in Manitoba.
Excellent. Let's talk US-based projects. I mentioned that you're putting together a pretty impressive portfolio of US-based projects, one in Arizona. You just had some news on. Can we speak to that a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And the project in Arizona, which is called Cora. So Cora was our first acquisition on open ground within the US. And so, that took a bit of learning on the pegging process and making sure we were doing that correctly. We now understand that really well, and we've got the team to go ahead and repeat this as our model, I guess. So we looked in that southern Arizona area, and we were looking at, I guess, all of the major projects. And we were looking for a small project that looked like one of the major projects, I guess. We had looked at some competitor projects, and they were all sitting in the outcrop areas. And in those outcropping areas, if you've got a little indication of copper, then it's probably had 100 years of claims sitting on top of it. It's got really complex claim histories, really hard to get a good position. So that's where we dug back into the survey, the geological survey data, Arizona Geological Survey, and started to look at places where people had drilled up to 100 years ago, up to 70 years ago, with a bit of an indication of copper. And that's where Cora came from. And so we really lucked out with that one with, there's a drill hole on our ground there that was drilled, let's say, 70 years ago. And that was 220 meters of almost 0.3% copper, 0.29% copper. And it starts at 50 meters and continues to the end of the hole. And so that was drilled in the 1950s. And yeah, to all intents that we have found in the data records, it was never followed up. So we jumped on that, and then we built a good land position around that drill hole and that set of drill holes, and that became the Corp project. And I guess the real reason that it's caught my eye this week and it's really come up as a talking point is I shared a map on LinkedIn and on Twitter about all of the major projects that are sitting around this Corp project. And so, yeah, half of the copper in the US is sitting within 50 or 60 kilometers of this project. And we're talking to the south. We've got Silver Bell, we've got Oracle Ridge, we've got Ray, we've got Christmas, all of these major porphyry projects. And sitting in the middle is Cora. And that's a really exciting place to be, and just under shallow cover and very explorable. So we've just announced, and we're flying an aeromagnetic survey, and that aeromag survey will be the way to sort of see the signature of a porphyry that's under shallow cover, and that's a really effective exploration technique at very economical costs.
And so the plan is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the plan is once you identify some drill targets at Cora, the plan is to drill this project later this year, right?
Correct. That's our plan for this year, and really as soon as we can. So we'll be seeing the data very soon from the aeromag survey. We combine that with the past drilling data, and we can call ourselves drill ready immediately. And the land is reasonably flat because it's got what's called the pediment. It's flat cover. Easy driving access, and we can have a rig on there as soon as the rig's available. That's the pinch point at the moment in the exploration industry.
You mentioned that intercept of 225 meters of just under 0.3% copper. That was all oxide copper mineralization, right?
That's correct. The whole intersection, and it's 70 years ago, and it was drilled by obviously independent third parties, a major company of the day. Yeah, we believe it's good data. We're talking oxide copper for more than 200 meters, which was stunning to see when we found those results. We've seen description of the logs. We've seen other drill holes in the area. The numbers hold up. It makes good sense. It's consistent. Really looks like an exciting target sitting under shallow cover.
Tell me a bit about the activity elsewhere in the portfolio.
Yeah, for sure. And let's jump north into Nevada with the Leader project. And again, the Leader we picked up on the Walker Lane, which is a very well-known feature that holds a lot of major deposits within the western US. And again, we were sort of picking our way along the Walker Lane belt, trying to look for unusual deposits, things with slightly different signatures, things associated with magnetic highs in the public data, things that had a small occurrence that hadn't been followed up on. And as we ticked our way along, we'd noticed that Rio Tinto was working on a project there called New York Canyon, and Kennecott in the US. And so we tried to look for something that looks a little bit similar to what they're doing, and find some of the analogs. And we came off to the south looking at prospects, and there was Leader, and we really expected that most of Leader would be undercover, and certainly that's what the historic maps were showing. But we get on site there, and there's a huge area of copper oxide mineralization, and we've shared some good photos of that on the website. And beautiful green rocks. We're getting lots of samples above 2% copper, with some really surprising high-grade silvers as well, sort of 400 grams per ton of silver in some of those samples. And so we have no record of drilling on this project that's gone sort of beneath a very shallow cap. We have found some records of an IP survey, which shows an IP anomaly that sits sort of a broad anomaly well below any kind of historic sampling or drilling or shafts. And that's really the key target for us, this buried flat-lying target. And that looks really exciting for a porphyry or a skarn target in that region. And something that, again, it's getting close to drill ready. We'll be doing an IP survey, as soon as the crew becomes available. We've got that contracted. And again, very drillable in the short to medium term.
Got to touch on Manitoba?
The 1 minute on Manitoba, which is our flagship project in the Sheridan district. And we've managed to put together a super portfolio there with multiple resource projects, with $30 million or something that's been spent in the past on exploration. It's got more than 500 drill holes. It was a major VHMS camp that produced from the 1930s to the mid-1950s. Really exciting project, and a company making project alone sitting there in Manitoba.
And yet the market cap is sub 7 million Canadian. Do I got that right?
It is, yes. Yeah, we're still the starting gates. And so, yeah, there's tremendous upside in Aguila. And, we've put together a great portfolio in a down market. And this is one of the ones I believe that'll have a great run once the markets pick up and we get noticed. And, yeah, that's my job. I'm working hard on it.
You mentioned in your presentation and in the news release that Aguila is focused on copper, nickel, and lithium acquisition, exploration, and development. I haven't seen nickel and lithium in the portfolio. Did I miss that, or is that something that is still in the cards?
That's still in the cards for us, but I guess when we look at our exploration strategies, they're the places that we're focusing our work on. Obviously, we've made big inroads into copper, and we're really pleased with our copper portfolio. When you look at Manitoba, though, Manitoba has a number of very good lithium explorers, and it's got a 100-year history in nickel production, and so obviously we're mindful of the opportunities in Manitoba, but elsewhere as well, we're keeping our ears to the ground, let's say, on those other commodities.
A lot to like, a lot to look forward to, especially this early on. You know, we've known each other for over a decade now, Mark. I love being early to stuff. It often requires a bit of patience. But man, when we get it right, boy, does it pay off. And again, with a market cap just under 7 million Canadian, the projects you have that have seen, just one project, right, has seen over $30 million spent on it. It's a past producing company making project. For the stock to be where it's at today, I think is a phenomenal opportunity, and I'm looking forward to an exciting 2022. Anything to add to that?
No, I think that's a great story, and we're excited about what we're doing and having a lot of fun, and working with good people, which makes a big difference. And we're going to make a major discovery this year. I'm sure we're excited about that.
Looking forward to it. As always, thanks for your time, Mark.
Thanks, Gerardo. All right, chat soon.
All right, bye now.